Oh, hey, I didn't even see you there. Well, while you're here, welcome to the channel, or welcome back to the channel. We're just continuing the Disc Golf Basics 101 today with putting. So let's get into it. All right, guys. Like I said, welcome or welcome back to the channel. Today is all about putting. Um, this is probably going to end up being a shorter video, only because putting is one of those things where I can only tell you so much before it just becomes a feel thing. Because putting is very subjective. There's not one correct way to do it, and there's not, you know, there's pros and cons to both, is what I'm trying to say. So it's really hard to tell you, yeah, do this style because it's better, or do this because it's better. I can just show you how the mechanics of each work, and then you basically from there just kind of feel out and kind of make your own putting thing happen. I did want to make a video about putting just because it is one of those things where it's probably the most important part of disc golf because you can't score until your disc comes to rest in this basket, and you get there by either throwing it in, which doesn't happen often, or by putting. Let's hop on in. So most putting grips, I'll go over that quickly just because it is kind of similar-ish. So you're not going to grab it like a normal throw, because you're not looking to get a lot of power and a lot of spin behind it. You don't need that much usually. If it's super windy like it is today, some people might consider one like hook it, like hook a finger, or like kind of hook your back fingers back in there a little bit and kind of give you a little bit more pop as you spin the disc outward with your fingers. I have not found success with that, but there are some putters that do that. Do. I'm a child. There are some spin putters that do use almost like a normal grip that they just kind of release some of the pressure with their finger on, so it's not like hooking onto their hand, and they kind of get that pop with it. But yeah. So the grip is almost like a fan grip, almost like I do a fan grip here, except you're going to put your finger, your pointer finger, whether you want to put that kind of resting over the rim a little bit like that, so it's kind of just resting on there, or you want to put it on the front, or if you want to like do a little a little poke it up top here like that, if you want to, like whatever feels good for you. And then the other three fingers, so your middle, ring, and pinky finger, just kind of rest slightly curled, but just rest on the bottom here. I would say not super spread out. If you are a push putter, which we'll talk about, you might want to spread it out a little bit just so you can kind of really get some control on the disc. And when you go to release and pop the disc up, you can really kind of get that lift. But I would still suggest bending them a little bit. That way you can have some extension out, because that's where a lot of the pop is going to come from, is from that extension, that release of the disc. So yeah, probably I rest my finger over top like this. These three fingers here are just kind of curled underneath a little bit, and thumb is probably about, I would say, normal to where you would normally grip the disc is fine. I tend to find myself putting my thumb a little bit further deeper in, but I've been messing around with it, so that could change. But somewhere within here is pretty good, as long as you're not on the very edge of the rim here, or you're not like way down in here. Just somewhere comfortable in here, wherever your thumb decides to fall, and then that's your grip. All right, so the first style I'm going to talk about, the one that I know the most about, let's put it that way, is the spin putt, which, as you can guess, is me taking the disc and spinning it into the chains. So that's my personal style. That's why I say that's the one I know best, because that's what I do. The best way that I've heard it described on how to practice getting the spin and pop is literally just throwing the disc up in the air yourself. So just kind of doing one of these. With it being windy, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to do, but essentially you just want to get used to having a hinge on your wrist, and you just kind of flick and pop your fingers out. So it's going to be like one of these motions, right? So you just want to pop. If it comes out wobbly, that's fine. As long as you get the general feel of how it's supposed to work, that's a great way to kind of train your wrist and build the muscles up and the muscle memory to get the pop on the disc. So if you're just sitting watching TV, just kind of just kind of flick one of these to yourselves. Try to get really consistent on like throwing it to yourself, so you don't have to keep reaching for it like I am. But also, like I said, there is wind, so just kind of pop it up. There you go. Do that a couple times, just kind of warm your wrist up, and then you're good to go. And then from there, so with the spin putt, you're going to have two hinges, wrist, elbow. So when I go to line up, I always use my knuckles on my putting hand, or like the flesh of my hand, the backhand here, as my aim point on how I'm aiming. Just let everything kind of be relaxed. and then you come almost like you're the way I've heard described is like a washboard. You have a washboard connected to your stomach, and you basically just want to slide back and through on that same line. Just keep things really straight and linear. So you're going to be here, you're going to come back, and you're just going to pop out. Easy as that. I'm also like 5 feet away. That's okay. So, and then that's kind of, you just kind of build repetition with getting that. One of the tips I've heard and that I've been putting into practice, because I find myself missing right a lot, which with a spin putt, normally you will not miss super high or low. Your misses are going to be left and right of the basket, just because there's a lot of hinges, so you can either miss this way or you can early release and go this way. What I've heard is you want to get this disc out of your hand sooner than you think you need to. So instead of releasing when I'm here, because the disc will obviously spin off my hand and it will go right. So mostly my miss is right because I hold on to the disc too long. And that's mostly because I'm trying to like put spin on it and get power behind it when I'm 30 feet out, which is not correct. You don't need to put power behind the disc. You just need to trust the spin on it. But you want to essentially get it out like, ideally when you go through, you want to get out like here. So you're not full extension yet, but as you let the disc go, you get to full extension and it rotates out of your hands towards the basket. That's why I say aim with this, not the disc. So you want to aim with the back of your hand and then just pop it out. In the wind, it is very useful. So the other style of putting, push putting, you really will not get a lot of spin on the disc because that's not what the style is meant for. So with spin putting, it's very upper body driven. Yes, you do want to get some momentum behind it so you can, like, when you're further back, so you can actually get some distance on it. But a lot of the distance actually just comes from your two levers. Your elbow straightening out and then your wrist coming out and unwinding itself towards the actual disc, or towards the basket, rather. And push putting is a very straight-armed and mostly lower body-driven thing where you're really getting a lot of tension here and you're really putting momentum into the disc to get it to go where you want. The wind, because there's less spin on the push putt, will play with it a lot. With spin putting, it's very point and shoot. So, like, there's wind here. It's very easy for me to push and kind of power through the wind because I'm getting a lot of spin and a lot of force behind the disc for it to go straight, rather than letting the wind have time to play with the disc as it kind of moves around. If you miss on any which way, high, side, whatever, you will go past the basket. If you are really putting full effort and really running a putt, there's a very real chance that if you that disc went farther past the basket than I'm standing here. Obviously, being this close away, I'm not going to like really whip it, but assume that I'm 30 feet back and I'm really running a putt. It's very possible that your just goes the same distance you're away from on the first putt. It goes past the basket and is that far away on the comebacker putt. If you are not comfortable with having long comebacker putts, this might not be the style for you, or you play it safe, which is fine. So, like, if I'm not comfortable putting, per se, and I'm way back out here, and I'm like, I really want to run this putt, but I don't want to leave another 20-foot comebacker if I miss, you can always... There you go. I laid up. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but I am a foot away from the basket because I gave it height and gave it some power so that there's a chance that it could have gotten somewhere close to going in the basket. But my goal was to leave it a little bit short. That way I can just pitch it in. And it being right here, pitch it in. So you can always play it safe and kind of avoid having comebacker putts. But I would say that spin putts definitely, if you're going to run it. And then worry about the comebacker later. Because, if you practice putting enough, you should be making all the first putts, right? I know I don't, but you should. That's pretty much all there is to say on the spin putt. It's just kind of figuring out what feels comfortable for you. So now we will go talk about the push putt. All right, so we're going to talk about the push putt now. Like I said, this is the style I know least about because I do not do it myself. So all the small intricacies and I don't want to say niche, but all the really small details, I'm not fully versed well in. So this is going to be a really brief overview of all the things I know about push putting. and what I've heard people kind of discuss in terms of like how they like what the feel is for them. Like I mentioned before, push putting, there's not a lot of spin that goes into it. And there is some middle ground, which we can talk about towards the end of the video. But straight push putting, just like pure push putting with no extra like levers or trying to get spin on the disc or anything like that, it's very up and down. So you basically keep everything straight, you bring it straight down, and you bring it straight up. So the goal is to avoid having to aim and miss left and right. The goal is basically just to pick a height for your disc and then have it go. So the way that is best to describe it for me is that you want your hand to basically paint the pole, so to speak. So you want your hand to start aimed at the middle pole of the basket. You want to bring it straight down and then straight up on that same line, basically just painting the pole straight down and straight up. And then just picking wherever you want your release point to be as height. So if I were to push putt from here, I would basically point my hand straight. So my hand's on the side of the disc here. I would point it straight at the basket. And I would drop straight down and then straight up. Like I said, I'm not well versed in this at all. So that was not a very good push putt. As you can see. That's also probably a stance issue. Because my stance was a little open there because I'm trying to really exaggerate the motion for you guys. But if I was going to push putt normally staggered stance, I would be here and I would just push. Both of those weren't great, but you get the idea. That's the general idea. So a good way to practice kind of getting the push putt feeling, we play catch with the basket. Well, you're playing catch with an egg. So you really want to come down and come back up. And you want to use your legs to really drive and to push the putter towards your friend, the basket friend. So basically you want to be really kind of here and then you push. That was very bad, but push. Also very bad. Actually, they're coming out kind of clean, but it's not for me. I don't like the way it feels personally. Even though they are coming out clean, I would much rather prefer just to stare at my putt dead in the eye, come here, boom. And when it's on, it's great. When I miss, not so much. But, so that's pretty much push putting to a T. It's very, very lower body driven, like I mentioned earlier. So a lot of your power when you're further back is going to be from your legs. You really want to get your legs into it and then push through. I am not really great at any of that. But that's the general consensus when it comes to push putting. One of the things I have heard before in terms of how to release the disc, you want to kind of turn your when you're coming down on your downswing, you kind of want to turn the disc in a little bit, and then when you go to release, you want to kind of come up and then pop your hand open and kind of like your palm to the sky, because that's the way that you can really get pop on the disc, is to kind of open and raise your palm up, and that's how you kind of get the disc to come out flat and kind of actually get a little bit of spin, so it actually helps it glide. So you really want to come here and kind of something like that. Again, I'm not good at it, but that is something that I've heard I've heard a lot of people, it helps a lot of people when they're understanding how push putt actually works and how it functions and stuff. If you do miss, it will probably stay pretty close to the basket. Obviously, it's not a perfect science because these aren't perfect things. So if it hits the band and then falls and then rolls away, it's obviously not going to be close to the basket anymore. But as a general rule of thumb, if you were to air ball from like back here, that's only like 2 feet away from the basket, maybe 5, and you just pitch it back in. You're not going to miss left or right very often with a push putt, unless there's something like my stance, for instance. If your stance is bad, then yes, you might miss. But in general, you're not going to miss much left or right. The only thing that you need to worry about is here, either high or low, which definitely helps with aim, because you basically are just, as long as you're pointing the disc at the pole, you have a really good chance of making it. So it's very, very, very nice to start off with. The wind plays a huge factor in how far away you can putt the disc, and also where your aim point is, and also how much power you want to put into it, and that whole thing. It messes with your disc a lot more than spin putting will. So that would be something to consider as well if you have trouble like reading the wind. or you're finding yourself really hard to get power behind your push putts, you might not want to do power push putts when it's really super windy out. You might want to learn like a small little spin putt, so when it's super windy, you can kind of try to get to the basket from further away. And that's kind of the overarching concept I want to impart with this video. Learn both so that you can at least try to use both if the situation arises. Like for me, a push putt will only come in handy for me as if there's like something in between me and the basket that I have to throw up over top of. Because with a push putt, you're going to get a lot of height, and that would definitely help me get up over the object and then also land close to the basket in case I'm not going to make it. And it wouldn't have to be like me trying to like spin a disc really hard through a bush. That's never going to work anyway. So like that's kind of the only real reason that I use push putting. But I know how to do it well enough that I could probably try to execute that shot if in real world time if I needed to. And likewise, if you're a push putter, you might want to adapt and learn a spin putt that's usable for when it's super windy, or you have like a really low ceiling and you can only see like maybe the bottom half of the basket. You can get like a really small little spinny putt and try to spin it underneath whatever the object is and try to give yourself at least a chance to hit like the bottom quarter of the chains here and maybe go in, or you at least got it underneath the object and then you're not trying to push putt through a tree that's overhanging the basket and it's just going to hit the tree and fall straight down. So there are uses for both, and you should definitely learn how to at least do both. But I would say definitely pick one that you want to master and make your actual style. Master. But one that you want to make your main style so you actually put practice into. But definitely dabble in both and definitely learn how both work. That way you can kind of have a usable secondary option if you need it. So that's all I have to say on the actual putting motions. I will talk about actual putting stances next. So I will start off by saying this. I know that the spin putting and the push putting sections of like mechanics and stuff got a little rambly. I'm trying to figure out how to actually like best describe this other than being like, this is how you do thing. Yeah, you're done. Because like, I want to make sure you guys have all the information so you guys know which one sounds cool to you to try and learn. And then also you guys have a starting basis of like, what should this feel like? And how should I like kind of start to build off of it? And it's very hard to describe that in my mind without like rambling and trying to like pick up momentum on how my thoughts should kind of continue and how I should voice everything to you guys so it makes sense. So I'm sorry if it was a little rambly. Hopefully you guys actually got something out of that. But we'll talk about stances, and these are very, very straightforward, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these. So you got two main stances for putting. You have a stagger stance, which is what I usually use. So you're going to have like whatever your dominant hand is, that leg is going to be forward. And I would suggest either pointing it at the target or a little bit off the target toward. So if you're right-handed, you would point your right foot a little left of your target so that you don't have the option of like opening up your hips or something weird. It kind of keeps everything closed and at the basket and it kind of squared off. And if you're a lefty, it would be your left foot out front, your right foot in the back, and it would be either pointed at or your left foot's a little pointed to the right of your target line so that everything's kind of here. So your stagger stance, all your power is really going to come from your back foot. And essentially you can think about it this way. I'm all usually on the ball of my foot. And when I go to get power, I just basically bend down into it and really load this back foot here. And then just kind of pop. That was really high. Pop. There you go. So you really want to feel like you're driving your foot into the ground. And then instead of pushing up, you kind of want to simultaneously plant this foot, but also push forward off this foot. So you kind of pop in place. And that basically just transfers all your momentum up your right leg into your arm as you like go to actually release the disc. Very reminiscent of a backhand throw where you want to brace with your lead foot and stop your momentum and then pull through the disc and let all your weight kind of travel into this leg and let all the momentum kind of travel up to here and then let the disc sling out. So kind of like that, just instead of putting this way, you're just kind of doing it in a more forward-facing fashion towards the basket. That is the style I mostly use. So for power-wise, it's very easy to get a lot of power this way, especially from like further back putts. You can really dig your foot in, and you can really pop and get a lot of spin and a lot of energy into the disc. Cons of it though, if you have something kind of in the way, like imagine there's a tree in between me and the basket right here. I can't putt right at the basket anymore because there's a tree in the way. I would just clank a tree and it would just fall straight down. That's where our second stance style comes into play, and that would be the straddle putt. So as you can imagine, instead of being here, you're going to straddle. Right here. This is the stance right here. So you just bend the knees and just kind of pop. There you go. A little low. When it comes to putting around objects, it's very easy for me, if say that tree was right here, it's very easy for me to do this. And then all of a sudden I can see the basket and I can just pitch it into the basket. And I would definitely say learn both stances again, like learning both putt styles. Learn both stances because you're going to need to use a straddle anyway at some point. If I was going to pick one to probably learn first, probably would be straddle. I just happen to learn stagger first. That's what I'm most comfortable doing. But I would probably say learn straddle first because it has more utility. And then when you're farther away, you can kind of dabble with using stagger stance. That's all I have to say on stances. That was the main ideas I want to get across. Putting is very much what you make it. Learn both styles, learn both stances. Whatever one feels comfortable, stick to that as your main, but definitely learn how to do both and make both serviceable. There you go. Yeah, thank you guys so much for visiting the channel again and sticking around for another video of mine. I hope this video helps. I know it's a little bit weird because putting, like I said, is very subjective, so it's kind of hard to kind of tell you what to do without telling you what to do. You know what I mean? And I really didn't give you much instruction other than this is what this looks like. Now have fun doing it. And that I hate teaching styles like that, but that's kind of what it is. Because it's a very personalized thing, but it's also a very important thing to talk about because that is how you actually score in this game. You have to get the disc to rest in here, and if you don't really know how to get the disc into here, you're not gonna have a good time. So, and I just like having people have a good time. Thank you guys so much for stopping by again today for this video. If you like it, please hit the like button, subscribe, comment down below anything else you have questions about, anything else you want to see, any ideas you have for videos. Because video creating ideas is fun, but you run out of them really quick sometimes, and you feel very uninspired. But I do have some more video ideas in the tank still, so I'm very excited to kind of get on those. And another new series was born in this video, and another new series will probably be born in the next video because I have an idea that I'm going to start doing in the next video that I upload. Makes sense, right? So thank you guys so much. I love you all. Have a good day. Putt. Practice putting. It's important. Go out and throw discs. It's a very poor intro. Outro. I'm not going to do that. So thank you guys so much for joining again. If you have any more questions about putting, throw them down in the comments below. If you have any ideas for videos, throw them down in the comments below. Consider giving this video a like. Click on the subscribe button. Maybe turn on the bell once you did that first thing, the subscribe thing, so you can actually see when I upload and anything I upload. I really appreciate all the support that I've been getting from videos. It's really cool seeing the channel grow, and it's really cool getting to reach an audience that may or may not know disc golf, and I'm actually getting eyes to the sport, which is the main goal of the channel. So I have a couple ideas coming up for videos here soon, a new series with the putting, like putting training and that kind of thing. And I think also I'm going to start a new series in the next video that I'm going to leave a mystery so that y'all actually want to come back and see it. But thank you guys so much. Love y'all. Practice your putting. Peace out.